From Muggy,
Ah.
Alabama. Oh, look at the hair. Look at that hair.
The headphones were pulling my hair. I had to
It's
let it
Thor.
loose. Ah, man, I don't. That's the problem with long hair and
Yeah.
headphones. Yeah, I need to get little earbuds like you got.
Man, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good, man. We've had so much stuff going on. I kind of told you about the new podcast. I don't think I told you
Yes.
what it's for. Did
You
I
didn't
tell
tell
you?
me. No.
Oh, okay. So we're starting a magazine.
Wow.
So it's going to be print and online, but the print and on the online stuff is actually going to be kind of separate, kind of different. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of like a posh, arty magazine. So we've
Really?
teamed up with a couple of guys here. One of them is a really renowned photographer, goes all over the world, does stuff for some really big name brands and stuff like that. And his name is Robert Rausch. And the the print version of the magazine is kind of his baby. It's his brainchild. And Shannon and I are both contributing and helping and doing all this. Everybody's got just different roles. It's a startup, so we're all kind of figuring out, but there's a team of
Yeah.
four of us, and the fourth guy is a marketing guru, and who's been in that business, like kind of like Mad Men type of industry, for a long time, and has worked with the biggest brands out there. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's an exciting venture. We're really stoked for it. And
Sounds like you're big timing me right now, man. We work with the biggest brands out there.
yeah. It does feel a little too posh for Shannon and I right now. I was telling a friend that it kind of goes against my punk rock aesthetic,
Mm,
but I just love working with creative people.
yes.
So when I
Yes.
met Robert and found in him a kindred spirit and also a really generous soul, somebody who is like me. He wants to collaborate with people. He
Yeah.
doesn't want to just like, say this is all mine and do everything and blah, 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 put his stamp on everything. So he and I are going to collaborate on some photo shoots coming up and stuff like that for the I've been calling it magazine. It's actually considered a journal. That's
A
how
journal.
hoity-toity it
Yeah.
is.
Hello.
It's a creative journal. So
Wow.
uh, so we're really excited about that.
That's great, man. That's
It's
really good.
called the Studio Journal, and first issue will be out this summer. We haven't put a date on it because COVID has changed everything.
Yeah.
So stuff that you don't even think about, paper supplies.
Right. Right. Yeah.
so
Seriously.
so to plan a print of something, especially a print of a type of journal as this one,
Journal.
where it's going to be super high quality. So we're wanting the best paper and the best print
Yes.
quality and all this kind of stuff. And to get that lined up right now is not as easy as you would hope.
Yeah. Yeah. For
So
sure. It's
so anyway,
exciting. I'm glad
yeah,
you guys are doing this, man.
thanks. We're really excited about it. And really excited. I'm excited about doing the podcast and doing, something similar
Yeah.
to what you do, which is just talking to as many interesting people as you
Yeah.
can, because you can never talk to enough interesting people,
I
right?
totally agree. I mean,
Yeah.
my life is full of talking to random strangers all the time. Literally every week, all
Stranger
random people.
danger.
Yeah. And I keep getting educated, and my mind keeps getting blown by all the different people and the things they've done.
you know um I know he fell out of grace with everyone, and perhaps rightfully so, with the Me Too movement, but Charlie Rose
Mm-hmm.
was always a big influence of mine. And I always wanted to have a show like, I always imagined that I would do well with a show like Charlie Rose's show, where you just sit with somebody at a table, very unpretentious, black backdrop, plain wooden table, and you just talk to the most interesting people out there. But what is always impressive about somebody like a Charlie Rose is that they come to the table with an immense amount of knowledge, but they have that knowledge because they've already had an immense curiosity.
Yes.
So that's what you have, this immense curiosity. So what you've been doing for the last, how long you've been running now? It's been
3 years.
3 years. Yeah. What you've been doing now is amassing this incredible knowledge base for yourself. So with each interview that you come to, you've increased, and you're coming into that interview now with an incredible amount of knowledge that a lot of people don't have, because they're not doing what you're doing. They're not talking to all the people you're talking to. So it's a real, I guess you can call it a blessing. I mean, it's a blessing to you. You are accumulating a knowledge base that most people will never have, or give themselves the opportunity to have.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I'll give you a good example. So like today, I get like some news sent to me and stuff from like very specific things that I'm like, okay, I want to learn about this. So I want this sent to me. So like, I want news sent to me about quantum computing. This is not a thing for me. Like, I'm like, I don't know. It's like, but I'm like, I heard this quantum physics, quantum computing. And then this gentleman wrote this really great article about, the hype is real, about, the hype is too much hype about quantum computers. And I'm reading about quantum computers and qubits and decoherence. I'm like, you know what? I just need to talk to this guy. I just need to like know about this. I need to download this in my brain. So if I can go into that circle and talk intelligently about quantum computing and decoherence and entanglement, stuff you hear in movies. You're like, that sounds cool, but you don't know anything about it. You're like, I don't know.
And you're also not convinced that the actor saying those lines knows anything about it. It's like actors on doctor shows, blah blah blah, reading the chart.
35 cc's on your
yeah. Do you even know what a cc is?
Exactly.
I don't think most people do.
Right. So it's like I've gone this quest to download information, not from just reading it, but from people telling it to me, and asking interesting questions, hopefully, and gaining insight. And that's what I think we do with the movie reviews. Like, in all honesty, I would have never watched Death on the Nile, probably, if you hadn't mentioned it. Seriously.
All right, I don't want to make this about race. But I want to put this question out to you. How many Black people do you think know the name Poirot?
No. Less than 1%.
How many Black people do you think have read Agatha Christie?
Come on. Hercule Poirot.
So I sent you that quote from Roger Ebert.
Yes.
And it was with that thought in mind, because the idea is that you can never know enough people, right? And that you're learning about people from other backgrounds and things like that. And what happens is that maybe because I'm white, I know about Agatha Christie and, Poirot. And, but maybe because I'm white, I couldn't tell you the first thing, well, I don't want to name names, but let me just say, I was talking to a white person about Black Panther, the movie, and they said it was their least favorite Marvel movie.
Wow, really?
I was like, oh, surprise, surprise.
Interesting.
A movie with a completely Black cast is your least favorite Marvel movie. This person, I'm not qualifying them as racist, okay? They're not somebody who, I've ever heard anything racist come out of their mouth. until that moment. And I'm not saying that they were consciously sitting there and saying, I don't like this because it's Black people. I'm saying that maybe there was a disconnect there, a cultural disconnect there, that maybe put them in a mindset where they just like didn't get it, or maybe they weren't as interested.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, does that make sense?
No, it makes sense.
I guess, and so I didn't expect that you had ever even heard of Poirot, even though I grew up watching a lot of these different series and movies. And I will admit to you, I've actually never read Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
But I've I've watched a ton of Hercule Poirot, and he's it's fantastic stories, fantastic mysteries.
Yes.
Along with Sherlock Holmes. I actually have read, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and read the Sherlock Holmes mysteries, but I'm always kind of on the lookout for those. I love those mysteries and things like that, and I love seeing different interpretations of those mysteries. But I don't expect many Black people do.
No. Actually, I watched it with my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter, and she loved it. And we both loved it. And I think it's just one of those things. And I looked at her, I said, see, this is why you watch different stuff. You just never know what you'll be into. And she's like, that was really good. Like, she's trying to guess who did it,
Yeah.
And I think that's the fun. It's kind of like who did it, and you're being pulled around all these directions. It's kind of like Clue a little bit,
Yep.
And I could see, watching her watch it, she was enthralled by it. And I'm like, this is what happens is we're not exposed. You can say that for anybody. If you're not exposed to something like at all, and you just may have this preconceived notion like, well, I don't like that type of stuff. I'm like, but you never tried it. Like, how do you know if you never experienced it? Like,
when people say that about like opera or something, and I'll say, have you ever actually been to an opera?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a different experience than to hear something, even watch something on a TV or something like that. When you're in the same room and you physically feel the air move with the orchestra and these amazing voices and stuff like that. And I'm not going to say every opera is a good one, obviously,
of course,
but it's a very different experience. I was one of those people who never thought I would enjoy opera until I went to one. And luckily I did that early on in my life. And then I was like, holy cow, opera is like my favorite thing.
And it's amazing, actually. Watching it in person is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you really liked the movie. You can probably guess, I had mixed emotions about it.
Simon, this is like totally your thing on every movie. There's always a list of like critiques.
From the moment the movie started, they start with a flashback.
Right. It's black and white.
Black and white, beautifully shot.
Mm-hmm.
They have a crow or a raven flying down into the trenches of World War I. This raven flies inches away from the heads and faces of people who are staring right in the direction of the raven, and they don't react to it.
Yeah, completely.
Because we know this is a computer generated,
of course,
raven, and it's flying through here, and we know that because we're intelligent enough to just say, even if it looked perfect and real, we would know this is computer generated, because we're smart enough to know that you can't train the raven to do that, to follow the camera and do all that kind of stuff.
Right.
However, it dawned on me that must have been added in post without planning for it ahead of time, because they didn't have anybody react to a bird flying inches away from their their eyeballs. So from that moment, I was like, oh no, come on, Kenneth. Kenneth Branagh is somebody that I have all at once immense respect for And at the same time, I am confounded by.
Mm,
I just don't understand him sometimes, the choices he makes.
I agree, actually.
I think he must be a man of supreme intelligence
Mhm.
and artistic vision. But sometimes I'm just like, he so often chooses um what's the word I'm looking for? Uh the opposite of substance.
Mhm. Yeah.
He chooses the spectacle, and I don't know why he chose it. I don't
Yeah.
know why he did it. I
Yeah.
just don't get it. Even if you're going back to the movies that I really love, like when he did it was his first movie, Henry V.
Mhm.
So many good choices in that movie, so many great things. And then there's these other moments where I'm just like, what, but
Yeah.
what, you
It's confounding. Yeah.
why,
Yeah.
why, why,
Yeah.
Kenneth?
Yeah.
And it can be anything from the way he delivers a line to the way he might punctuate something that you feel is the wrong thing to punctuate, and you wonder why he made that choice
Yeah.
delivering the line. Or it could be something like having a computer animated crocodile attack something, and it looks totally fake.
Yeah.
You know,
Completely.
it's in a short clip in between scenes in this movie, you know, Death on the
Yeah.
Nile.
So bad.
The computer generated effects in it were so bad
It was
that
so
you're
bad.
just,
Like under the water and the eel. Like I'm like,
yeah.
really? That's so bad. Like,
So you're like, why are you including this?
right. It's poorly done. Yeah.
And when you get to the end of that opening black and white
Yeah.
stuff, and you realize that the whole thing was there to tell you why he has a mustache.
Yeah. And a really bad one.
Yeah. I love his mustache.
I
I
didn't
gotta
like it,
say,
man.
I
What
I
is that
think they
thing,
did a
man?
fantastic. That's part of his character, and not
So
that
weird.
particular mustache that they have in this movie, but the mustache is an important part of Poirot in the stories.
I don't believe
He's
he
a
could grow a mustache like that with that type of stuff on his face and the coverage. I think the hair wouldn't grow in, honestly.
yeah, the scarring,
I
it
don't think
probably,
that
yeah,
it would
no,
be all
you're probably
patchy.
right.
It would
You're
be patchy.
probably, yeah, I would say you're right about that. And when you, so at the end they show him without the mustache,
Yeah.
and you look at it, you're just like, well, that scarring isn't even that bad.
It's not bad. He could have been like that.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know why I had this mustache the whole time. Looks pretty good.
it is weird. Like,
And I know they're trying to do this through line of showing that, you know, at the end that he's able to maybe move on, you
yes.
know, from
Yes.
and maybe entertain the idea of being, you know, loving someone else other
Yeah.
than so anyway, I get that. I don't know if the mustache was the strongest way to present that
Grow a
metaphor.
mustache.
So there's just choices like that. And there's a lot of choices throughout the movie. And I don't know. I guess this must have been filmed during COVID because of the date of the release and
Yeah.
everything like that.
Yeah.
So I understand they must have had some real limitations on how they were able to film, where they were able to film, and things like that. But we know that the technology is out there. And I immediately, when I was watching this film, I thought about the new Boba Fett, or not Boba Fett, but the Mandalorian
Mm-hmm. I
series
haven't watched
on
it.
Disney
No.
Plus. Well, they're using this new technology. Instead of green screen, they have actual screens behind them with the, you know, that are showing the real
Okay.
or the landscape imagery behind them and stuff like that. So you're not being shot on a green screen. There's actually images behind you being filmed, right?
Right. Right.
And even if it is green screen, we know that the technology is out there to do really good green screen.
Right. Right.
So there are quite a few shots in this movie where you're just like, that looks like bad SNL green screen. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, when they're talking on the boat and they're like, you see the background and like, I'm like, that
yeah,
looks fake to me. Like,
it looks really
so
bad.
fake.
It looks really
Like,
bad.
yeah.
Not only does it look bad because the green screen job looks bad, but it also looks bad because you can really tell that the green screen stuff behind them was computer generated.
Yes. Yes.
Instead of going out and actually filming a real location and then compositing that real location. I mean, you don't need to computer generate Egypt.
No.
The footage is there. We've all seen Egypt before.
Yeah.
It's already beautiful enough.
Right.
It doesn't need computer enhancement. So there's just all these big questions on my mind about why.
I knew it too. When I was
Why?
watching it, I was like, Simon's gonna tear these parts up with this. I knew it. I said, it looks so fake. I was like,
Yeah, it was just tough for me because you compare that. Now, did you get around to watching the other movie?
was it, did you say Wind River? Or what was
Yeah,
it? I
Wind
had
River.
I didn't get to watch it. My wife watched it though. She has watched it and she
Oh,
was like, "Oh, it's chilling." She's like, it's crazy." I just didn't get around to it.
so when you do get around to it, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But and I won't say anything about plot or anything. I will only say things about cinematography. There's never a moment in that movie where you don't think they're in a real place. I don't know if they used any computer generated stuff to do composite backgrounds or
Yeah.
anything like that. I don't know that, but I do know. And sometimes I actually questioned it. I mean, this is how stupid I get because they're supposed to be in a really cold place. And once in a while, it's like, I don't see their breath fogging.
Yeah.
So it can't be as cold as they're claiming it
Right.
is.
Right.
But that's the only distraction. Other than that, it's like they're in the real snow, they're on a real
Right.
mountain, they're in the real, and whereas in Death of the Nile, whether they are or not, you are completely convinced they're on a soundstage.
Yeah.
You are not
Completely.
convinced at all that they're in Egypt. They are on a soundstage. There is not a moment in Wind River, no matter what the setting is, whether
Yeah.
it's indoor, outdoor, doesn't matter. There's never a moment where you think you're on a soundstage. It
Yeah.
feels authentic and real.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Like your wife said, it's chilling, it's
Chilling.
haunting.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah.
I mean, my wife and I finished that movie and we just couldn't shut up about it. We
Yeah.
were just like, oh my gosh. I mean,
Yeah.
I had been putting off watching that movie for a long time, actually. I wasn't
Yeah.
really
Me
sure what
too.
to expect
Yeah.
because, and this is what happens. You get people in these Marvel superhero films,
Mm-hmm.
and I think subconsciously you lose respect for the other stuff they do.
Mm.
Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, because it's Jeremy Renner's in it and Elizabeth Olsen, I think, right?
Yes,
And
two
you think,
Marvel
okay,
superheroes.
Hawkeye and and Wanda,
Yeah.
basically, like,
There's actually there's a third person.
oh, from Marvel in it.
Oh, it's the guy who, and I'm blanking on his name. He does the Punisher series on
Oh,
Netflix.
John Berthnall, he's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that
So
guy. He's
he's in it
incredible.
too, and he's awesome.
Wow, he's a great
He's
actor.
awesome. He has a very small but
Mhm.
extremely important role, and I can't
Yeah,
say more without giving
I'll be watching
spoilers.
it soon. I'll be watching it
Um,
soon.
but the authenticity of the acting that was done. I mean, if anybody is wondering if Elizabeth Olsen is actually a really good actress because all they've seen her in is as the Scarlet Witch in
Yeah,
Marvel, go watch this movie, man.
yeah,
I mean, just go watch it. And if anybody wonders if Jeremy Renner's a good actor because
yeah,
all you've seen him as is Hawkeye,
right.
go watch this movie. I mean, powerful,
Yeah.
powerful stuff.
But you do think
And
like because they're in these like Marvel movies, you're like, oh, well, maybe they're just not good actors that great. They're just they look great and stuff, you know.
yeah,
But
they're
you know,
very
Robert Downey
beautiful
Jr.
people.
had a career before Marvel. I mean, it was like
Exactly, he
weird. It
did.
was
Yes,
weird.
yeah.
It was weird, but
Had
he had a
extreme ups and downs.
extreme ups and downs. You know, it's like you just don't. You know, you got to really track it.
I don't think anybody who paid attention to Robert Downey Jr.'s career prior to Iron Man could have anticipated that he would be the highest paid whatever, like, I
Yeah.
mean, who would have guessed? I mean,
No.
you would have just thought that his career was just going to fizzle out. You never hear from him again
Yeah.
after, such and such things.
Yeah.
But and frankly, I don't even know why he continues to work. I don't
Yeah.
even get it.
I don't know.
I mean, he must have a passion for what he does,
Right.
because when you make that kind of money, why aren't you just living on your private island, doing whatever it is you want to
Yeah.
do? Why would you ever work again in your life? I always think that about these actors who do these huge
Mm-hmm.
movies.
Right.
I just wonder, why do they ever work again?
Right. What's Keanu Reeves doing? Like, you know, he's been in like massive franchises that have been massive hits, like crazy.
And I haven't seen much growth as an actor from him.
No,
So
really,
you
Simon?
so you wonder where the passion is coming from to continue working.
I don't know, man. It's something to do.
I mean, speaking of Kenneth Branagh movies,
Right.
he was in Much Ado About Nothing, the
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth Branagh adaptation of Shakespeare. And
Yes.
I mean, look at that cast list. You've got Emma Thompson, Kenneth Branagh, Denzel Washington, Michael Keaton. The list goes on, and
Yep.
and that's just naming the actors who you don't always associate, with Shakespeare. You actually associate
Yeah.
them with lots of other things. Um, then you have Branagh's core Shakespearean actors that he brings in on these films who are just, out of this world good.
Yep.
And then you have Keanu Reeves. What the heck is he doing in this? But he was a big, I
Yeah.
mean, I say was big, like he's not big anymore, but he was a huge young star at the
Right.
time. But once again, I'm like, those movies, as far as I can tell, are Kenneth Branagh passion projects.
Yes.
They did well at the box office, but they were Kenneth Branagh passion projects. You screen test Keanu Reeves, and
Here we go.
and you, Kenneth Branagh, say yes, he's going to be the villain in my compliment to Kenneth Branagh in that production of Much Ado About Nothing is that Keanu Reeves is barely in it.
What a compliment. What a compliment.
Well, I mean, Emma Thompson steals that show.
Yes. Yes.
How you steal a movie from Denzel Washington is amazing.
Truly amazing.
Denzel Washington might be I mean, he's definitely in my top 5 favorite actors of all time.
Agreed.
Even movies that I didn't enjoy that he's in.
Yes.
I am still just awestruck by him in that movie.
His intensity is strange to me because it's almost like
Yes.
he speaks the language of acting. I'm sure there's some comedians that I think like this is just who they are. Like this is like they're fluent in this language of comedy, of acting.
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to try. Like it's just who they are. He's like one of those guys to me. It's like, oh, this is like every movie is like no big deal. Oh yeah, sure. I feel like other people are trying really hard to nail the performance. They're just like, listen, what do you want? I mean, pick a movie. I'm good.
Yeah.
I got it. Training Day. Okay, I'll be the villain. Like,
oh man.
I mean,
Yeah. Talk about one of the best performances of all time. Training Day. I mean,
seriously.
He says lines in that movie that out of any other actor's mouth you would have rolled your eyes at.
Yeah.
His King Kong line.
Yeah.
You would have rolled your eyes at any other actor delivering that line.
I
But
know,
it's
right?
legendary because Denzel said it.
Yeah. Hey,
That's the
Jake, I didn't know you like to get
gravitas.
wet. I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, that just incredible performance after
yeah.
incredible performance. And
Yeah.
I just I actually haven't seen either Will Smith's movie that he won the Oscar
Mhm.
for or Denzel's Macbeth that he was nominated for. I haven't had the opportunity to see either of those
I've
films
seen
yet.
King Richard before, and Will Smith was excellent in it. I mean, it was
I have no doubt.
he embodied
I
the role
yeah.
incredibly well. Yeah. Yeah.
That Will Smith to me is somebody who proves that somebody coming from a comedic background is actually is they just seem to naturally have the acting gene.
Yeah.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
And that's not universally true. I've seen
No.
comedians who are
No.
horrific actors,
Yeah.
but there are so many comedians out there, or somebody who comes from a comedy background who goes into drama and they just understand timing.
Yeah.
They understand how to deliver a line.
Yeah.
And I think it's comedic timing. Comedic timing translates to dramatic timing.
Yeah.
You know how to deliver. And
Yeah.
that is something that somebody I think who comes from drama first,
Yeah.
I think they have a much harder time transitioning to comedy or
Right.
learning how to deliver a line.
Yes.
And I think that's and like I say, that's not a universal thing, but it tends to be the case. And Will Smith, I think, really shows that. He proves that. He's
Yeah.
who would have thought the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would have done
Right.
so well in these really heavy roles. you
Yeah.
know
And then to go on to
um
play like one of his first movies, I'm gonna mess up the name of the title. I think it was like 6 Degrees or something like that, or seven. But he plays a gay actor.
mm,
I mean, a gay person, and like that was like one of his first movie roles. And what a choice, especially for back then,
yeah,
when that just wasn't being done. And a lot of people don't remember that movie that he did
I
that.
actually have never seen it. I've
Yeah,
never
it's
seen it.
really good, but it's like you're like, whoa, way to come out the gate. Like
Yeah,
this is interesting choice.
I'm
Um,
assuming this is mid 90s.
yeah, yeah,
So this is kind of era like when Philadelphia, that movie
yes,
came
yeah.
out, something
Oh
like that.
man, Philadelphia. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Are you kidding me? Two
yeah,
giants together.
yeah.
I mean, give me a break.
One of the roles that I think people forget about that is so good is Antonio Banderas
Yeah.
as the boyfriend.
Yes. Yes. So good.
He doesn't get. I never hear anybody talk about his
You're
performance
right.
in that movie.
So good, man.
Amazing. I mean, everybody involved in that film was amazing.
It's one of
you
my
know?
favorite movies. I've watched that movie so many times. I mean,
Yeah,
so good.
yeah, yeah. Um, uh, Back to Kenneth Branagh, just so we stick on there. So, in this film, what did you think about the acting performances?
You know what's interesting
Death
to
on the
me? So,
Nile.
like, Gal Gadot, I don't know how to say her last name correctly.
I
But
think it's Gadot.
Gadot,
Yeah,
Wonder Woman, aka Wonder
yeah,
Woman. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of her acting. I don't know what it is. There's something off to me
Mm.
about how she delivers lines. I don't know what it is. This is me. This is my Simon moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you my Simon moment. There's something there that just I don't connect with emotionally with her.
Mm.
There's something off for me. And who's the guy?
Does
Is it
it come
Art?
off phony,
Yeah, it's just kind of like I don't
or is it
know.
just kind of like it doesn't, or it just doesn't? So what
She's
I'm
not
trying
a
to
natural
differentiate
actor to me.
between,
Yeah.
yeah, what I'm trying to differentiate between is, do you feel like she feels phony when she's delivering lines, or does she just not um give a performance that's very moving?
It's just not moving, and I just don't
Okay.
think she's a natural actor. I think
Mm-hmm.
obviously she probably would disagree with me, but this is just my they just it feels like she's trying really hard to deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It contrasts with Denzel. Denzel looks like he just doesn't care. Like he's just doing it and it's amazing. And like she looks like
Yeah.
she's really trying and delivering it and she looks great, but there's nothing there. Just like nothing there for me. I don't know. That's just my
No,
personal take on it. Yeah.
I get that completely. The guy Army Hammer,
Army Hammer. Yeah, that's his name.
what did you think of his performance?
You know, mixed about
Yeah.
it, which is funny because I really like the movie, but I still am doing my Simon here, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
When they
mixed,
cut
yeah.
when they cut to him crying over her death,
Yeah.
Shannon laughed out loud.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. I started dying. I was like, that's terrible.
And for a moment, I was actually distracted by her laughing, and I couldn't decide if, because I felt like once it got into the scene, that his crying was convincing, like
Yeah.
his emotion was convincing. I think they just cut at a bad moment. Like that was the wrong moment to cut to. You know what I mean?
I didn't
And
think about it that way.
these are the decisions. These are what like the decisions that I question about Kenneth
Okay.
Branagh's films, where I'm
Yeah.
just like, why did you cut to that? You were watching this and you cut to it and you were convinced that that was the right thing to do, and I just don't
Yeah.
understand why you thought that. I just
It was like honestly, I was watching with my daughter, like I said, and I was like, I looked at her, I said, you've done that before. Like where I started laughing at you because it sounds so over the top. Like when
yeah,
you've cried
yeah.
like that.
And maybe that's it, that because Kenneth, and this is what I've kind of been leading to this whole time, that Kenneth Branagh comes from the stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
When you come
Makes
from the
sense.
stage and you cry on stage, there can't be subtlety in your crying,
Right. We got to
because
project.
you're reaching the back.
Yes.
Film's different. The camera is right in your face.
Yes.
You do not need to project to the back row. You need to create an intimate moment,
Yes.
as if that person is sitting right next to you.
Yes.
And I just don't think Kenneth Branagh always remembers that.
And
I
that's the
don't.
genius of Mike Flanagan in Midnight Mass. He nailed
Yes.
that on all
Yes.
levels. I'm not going back to that, but just as an example, that's the difference, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Where even the impassioned preaching,
Yes. It's like,
he's in
man.
a small church. He doesn't need to project to an auditorium. He's only
Yes.
projecting to about 10 rows back.
Right.
And you feel that everything feels. So I come from playing in bands,
Yes.
played in lots of bands over the years. And the discussion oftentimes goes back to drummers,
Mm.
where you can tell a drummer who is a nuanced drummer versus a drummer who just hits things, for lack of a better way to put it.
Okay.
A nuanced drummer looks at the size of the room and knows how to play to the size of the room.
Mm.
The other drummer plays as hard as he can, as loud as he can, and he doesn't care about the size of the room. And I feel like Kenneth Branagh is that drummer.
Yeah.
So, and that, when it hits, and it does really well. Like when Kenneth Branagh nails it, he nails it.
Yes.
And when he doesn't nail it, you can really tell. But this is kind of a backhanded compliment to say he's always hitting as hard as he can.
Right. That makes a lot of
Right.
sense.
So, and there's just sometimes where you just want to tell him, Kenneth, this is the wrong time to be hitting that hard.
Right.
You need to
Yes.
pull some punches,
Right. Yeah. Throw a change up every once in a while. Okay, man. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
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 What did you think of Kenneth Branagh's performance as Poirot? Now,
I actually thought it was good.
this is your first time with the character. I've seen at least 3 other legendary actors play this role.
Mm.
And so Kenneth Branagh is actually, this is his second movie as Poirot. He also did Murder on the Orient Express, which
Yeah,
is
I've
probably
heard of
Agatha
that.
Christie's most famous novel or mystery. And I didn't bother to go see it. I'm going to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
I was like, Kenneth Branagh as Poirot, not convinced. I haven't even seen it and I'm not convinced. However, I gotta say, I really liked him as
I liked
Poirot.
him. Yeah, I thought it was good. The accent was a little. I actually had to put on subtitles a little bit because I was like, I don't understand some like how he's saying this. I know maybe that's just me, but
Yeah,
like I was like, it's a little heavy in parts, like
yeah.
so thick in parts, and then I wouldn't do it. But this is totally truth. I know the mustache thing we talked about it. It was very distracting for me. Like the mustache was so over the top looking. I just kept
Yeah,
staring at it. It was
yeah,
like you said, hitting too. It was almost like it was hitting too hard with the mustache. Could have been a little
yeah.
bit less. Like I mean, like, but overall, I liked his performance. Yes.
Other actors have gone for just like the
Yeah.
waxed, curled,
Sure.
mustache, and it looks very good. Kenneth Branagh brings a very different production value to these
Yeah.
things. So much spectacle in a Kenneth Branagh production,
Yeah.
which is really interesting because if you go back to Henry V, the stuff he got right was that he was a very dirty
Yes.
Henry V.
Exactly.
Like the final battle scene, which many battle scenes since then have almost copied,
Mm-hmm.
takes place all in the mud.
Yep.
And it's dirty and it's gritty and everybody's wet and everything looks heavy. Every movement looks heavy because
Yes.
they're in armor and they're wet and in the mud and everything. And it's not a glamorous battle scene. And Henry V is not what I would consider a glamorous production.
Yeah.
It's a very good looking production, but it's a very kind of gritty, dark looking production. I haven't seen him return to that form ever since then.
Yeah.
Everything since then has been like trying to capture something of maybe like Hollywood's golden era of
Mm.
epic filmmaking, where
Yes.
everything
Yes.
is a bit cleaner than it should be. Everything's a bit brighter than it should be. Everything, you know what I'm
I
saying?
totally get that. Yeah.
And to that, to your point, even his mustache. Now Poirot is supposed to be an intensely vain
Yeah.
individual, so
Yes.
everything about him should be immaculate, and I think he nailed that. But
He
to
did
your
nail
point,
that.
the mustache is probably,
It's a little over top for me.
you know
But I thought he was great. Actually, my favorite person in there, I don't know her name, but the woman, she plays Maeve in Sex Education on Netflix. And I think she's a British actor, but she's like the scorned lover, supposedly,
oh
in the and
man,
she
she was
she
good.
oozes sexuality, she oozes intensity, and she has great screen presence. And I was like,
Yeah,
man, she takes me there. Actually, she's the opposite
yeah.
of Gal Gadot. Like, I feel like she just shows up. That dance scene in the beginning with her and Army Hammer, I felt that.
Oh gosh, yeah,
I felt the sexual tension, the energy, and she was just like a beast, an animal. And I was like, that's my favorite right there. Right
yeah.
there.
She
I
was
like that.
amazing. I liked her, and and I'm really bad with names. I meant to actually have the names in front of me, and I'm ill prepared. I'm sorry, but
No.
the actress who played the jazz
Oh
singer, the
man.
blues singer,
Oh.
she was so good. Okay, so
Mm.
there's actors who come on with a guitar and you know they have no idea how to play the guitar. You know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about. Yes.
One of the most um in inspiring things about the movie Back to the Future is that Michael J. Fox learned how to play the guitar
Yes.
to do the role, because most actors wouldn't. And you just see them moving their hands around,
Yeah.
and you're just like, that's not even a chord. That's not, your hands are, you look like an idiot. And I don't understand why they think they should be getting away with that. I don't understand why
Yeah.
directors think they should get
So
away with it.
bad.
From the get-go, I didn't cast beforehand. And once I saw who it was, I recognized that actress. But when she first comes on and the camera's following her to the stage, once again, in a moment that makes no sense, by the way, because it's not like they were in an era where it would have made no sense for her to have some 100-foot long guitar cable running to her amp and then to walk through a dancing crowd. Once again, Kenneth Branagh chooses spectacle over anything that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yes.
However, as a guitar player myself, I am either consciously or subconsciously watching her movements as she either is playing or pretending to play. I actually don't know.
Yeah.
Because I was so convinced. I thought she was a musician they hired to play the band in the show, until she turned around and I recognized her face,
You knew who she was,
and
yeah.
everything. Yeah. And so I was so impressed. I was just like, she convinced me. So she either actually knows how to play the guitar, or she actually took the time with the music and with somebody who could, help her, instruct her on how to look like she knows how to play the guitar. Because there's no faking it to another musician. You know what I mean?
Right.
You either took the time and did your homework, or you didn't.
Right. Of course.
And that's just true of probably any tradesman who's watching a movie and watching somebody, whether they're pretending to be a carpenter or a bricklayer or whatever it is that the actor's supposed to be.
Right.
If somebody's in that occupation, they're watching it and you're like, you have no idea what you're doing.
It's so true.
You don't know the first thing about this. Very disappointing. I can't even imagine being a doctor watching one of these hospital dramas.
Oh, it's so bad. I have a lot of physician clients, and they're always like, these shows are just ridiculous. They're just so ridiculous. I'm like, I know. It's entertainment, man. It's just like when the piano, right? They usually don't let you see the fingers in a lot of these directors. But then you see like a Jamie Foxx, who was a gifted pianist, can play Ray Charles and actually play the songs because he knows how to play.
Yeah.
It's like amazing when somebody does that.
When you do an A/B comparison.
Yeah.
I mean, of somebody who doesn't play and is just pretending, even though you don't see their fingers, they're just pretending, they're kind of doing little movements and stuff. But they, you can just tell from the get-go. Yeah. They have no idea what they're doing.
They have no idea.
They're just hitting as hard as they can.
That's like the theme. Just hit as hard as you can, baby. Let's see where it falls.
Give me a grade for Death on the Nile, A through F.
I'm gonna say a solid B.
Yeah,
a solid B. I really liked it. I thought like the CG and stuff was the most egregious part of it, I think. And then maybe the main actors were my favorite, but I would say the secondary actors were better to me. Yeah. But I do like the whole kind of murder mystery thing that I found very interesting. So I love Egypt. I think this is an awesome thing. It was a little weird how they put it together, but overall, I was like, man, this is a quality couple hours of my time.
Yes, I was impressed at the way, and great mysteries series and movies can always do this. If you enjoyed this and you would be interested in other British mysteries,
yeah,
the series Endeavor is on Amazon Prime. and that's one of my favorites.
Interesting.
It is exactly what you would think I would enjoy.
Okay. A lot of
It's lots
talking,
of
Simon.
people talking. It's lots of very few action sequences,
Uh-huh.
but very thrilling to me
Yeah.
because you are constantly if you've been watching these kind of mysteries, before, then you kind of get into the game.
I
Just like
see.
you mentioned before, it's like a game of Clue.
Yeah. It's like
So when
Clue.
I start to watch an episode or a movie of this kind, and Endeavor, it's one of these BBC series where it's a series and there are seasons, but each episode is basically a feature length
I see.
film. So and they're just so incredibly well done. And so the whole time from beginning to end, I'm trying to solve it before they do,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And once in a while I do, most of the time I don't,
Right.
there's some other
Right.
twists or something, there's something else. And um I always feel like I'm getting pretty good at solving the mysteries
Yeah.
before, but I'm usually off by a little, I'm
Yeah.
usually just not quite, I don't quite have it. But anyway, and so going back to my main point, I was impressed at how I didn't think they were going to be able to connect all the dots as well as they did at the
Yeah.
end
It
of
came
this movie.
together nicely.
How they were able to explain why Poirot was so coincidentally in different places with different characters when
Right.
he was. And I was afraid that this was going to be another one of these movies that depended too much on chance and circumstance.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It actually had a very intelligent way
It
of
did.
explaining why Poirot is in these different places and
Yeah.
interacting with these different characters the way he is. And so I was impressed by that. By the end of the film, I did think it was a very intelligently made film. Even if I didn't agree with all the production, that went into the
Yeah.
film, I was like you. I gave it a solid B. And I feel like we're in an era, if a movie doesn't get an A, then people think that you didn't like it.
No,
But
it's
that's just
good.
not the case. I
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
Me
And I
too.
only bring out the weaknesses to say, you know, um, uh, Kenneth Branagh is a problematic filmmaker
Yeah.
and he's a problematic actor. However, if his biggest problem is that he brings too much passion to whatever he's doing, then please, Kenneth Branagh, continue to be a problematic
Yeah.
filmmaker, because I just feel like that's what's missing in a lot of other productions, is not
Agreed.
enough passion. And just I, I hesitate to use words like this because I think they sound silly when you say them, but daring, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh dared to do that,
Yeah.
and I didn't agree with it and I didn't like it, but
Yeah.
he had the audacity to do that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, do
Okay.
that thing, do
It
it.
was good. It was really good. Solid B. I actually think I need to watch Wind River. It's on my list, and maybe that's next up because that I don't
it,
know.
like I said to you in that text I sent, it is a really good comparative
Yeah.
thing to this, and it's not because it lacks what I was just saying, the passion and things like that, but it exhibits that passion in a very different type of filmmaking.
Yeah. Oh.
I think if I remember correctly, it was written and directed by the same, it was a writer director who made this film.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just feel the passion with which they wanted to tell this story.
Yeah.
And it is a masterclass in how to tell a story that has a supremely important message behind it
Yeah.
that doesn't get lost in its own messaging.
That's great. I got to watch it. It's down. I'm doing it. And then we got to discuss it. I think sounds important. I like to discuss important things like that.
Yeah.
That's what we got going here. This is our master class. Simon and Darian saying a bunch of stuff. We like your movies, but we're gonna tear them down a little bit. Right?
we're gonna tear them down, and then we're gonna tell you how much we actually did like them.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoying something has nothing to do with the quality of the movie, does it?
No.
It has nothing to do with the quality of the filmmaking or anything like that. Sometimes you just enjoy something despite it. And I actually had this conversation recently with somebody about guilty pleasures.
Yeah, of course.
And I wouldn't even say that this is necessarily a guilty pleasure, this Death on the Nile. I think it was a good movie for anybody, you know.
Sure. Yeah, anyone. I think so.
But we all have what we call our guilty pleasures. And I really actually don't like that term. Just call it a pleasure.
Yeah.
This was a pleasure, and just own it. Just own that you enjoy that thing, and you don't have to make any excuses for liking it.
That's exactly right. Simon, this is always a pleasure, not a guilty one. It's always a pleasure spending time with you, man.
You too.
Until the next time, man.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right.